Today I'm going to present what we call guided tours. And this is a feature within the Rundeck interface that you can add as a plugin to give users instructions. So today I'm going to cover what the guided tours are, give you a little backstory on how they came to exist, show you how to set up tours in your own environment, and talk about creating a custom tour. And I'm actually going to do more demo today than I am going off slides. So here at Rundeck, we actually have a trial environment, and with this trial environment, it's something you can sign up for online. So if I log into the trial environment, we wanted to have a way to guide users who were completely new to Rundeck on how to use the Rundeck environment. So the trial environment the purpose is so that you can use Rundeck, right, without actually having to go through and set it up. So you can see this first line that we've put in the README, right? There's an icon up here, and what this icon does is it's going to give you a list of the tours that are available within the interface. So these tours can be set at the framework level, so you can have tours for the entire product, but you can also set it at the project level. So I'm going to show you the Getting Started tour. So this is just the list of tours that are available, and when you click on the tour name, the content appears on the right-hand side. And so you can put your own instructions in here, right? And one of the great features of the tour is that when you click the next button, right, the tour is able to navigate you to the right place in the Rundeck interface. So you can see our Getting Started just has a little bit of information about the different areas in Rundeck that you might be going to. And it's navigating me to those pages, right? So you can see now we're on access control, right, which is access through the gear button. And click next, and now it's taking me to the area where I can set up my API token if I were using the command line tools, right? The system report. So you can set navigation within the tours to get your users around. And you'll also notice that we have the ability to highlight some of the menus. So you can tell your users where you want them to click. And in this tour, we're pointing to the menu that we're using. And when you click next, it's actually going to bring you right back. In this case, it's back to the project dashboard. So we did this just for our trial environment, but I was finding that as companies are adding new users to Rundeck, so especially, you know, you'll have your team working in Rundeck and you're ready to take that next step to bring on your job runners. So you're gonna have your operations team come in and log into the interface and be able to run particular jobs. So just gonna log out and log in back in with my job runner account. Right. So typically by default, you're gonna set it up so that the home page that they'll be brought to is this page. And a user might not know, right? They want to rebuild a catalog, and your project name, like they won't know from here what button do I click to rebuild the catalog for our online content. So where they have to navigate to is projects, jobs, right? And might have actually screwed up my permissions, but they should see a list of all jobs here and then actually have to drill down a few more times. And using the guided tour, you could actually have like a list right here that says like rebuild catalogs and explain all the options of your jobs and actually navigate them to the correct place. So if you have 20 ops guys, each time you're bringing one aboard and one is new, they're going to be calling you up and saying, how do I do this? How do I do that? And this feature, the tours, actually gives you the ability to provide instructions. So I'm going to flip back to my PowerPoint presentation. So let's see. Just I'll flip back here. So how we find that the customers that we've shown this to are using it is that they're documenting their runbook policies. So maybe for job writers, you have certain rules and certain things like log masking and other things that they should be adding to all of their jobs, right? This is your opportunity so they don't have to go to some wiki page or whatever to have those rules and policies right in the interface. You can use it to help your job runners, and maybe you're allowing managers or other people to see job statuses, right? So they only have read-only access. You can help them navigate the Rundeck interface. So a lot of different ways that you could use it. So enabling tours is the next thing that I'm going to show you in the UI. I'm also kind of going to show off a new 3.1 feature for managing plugins while I'm doing that. I'll explain to you how to configure where to put your tours and the 2 tour options that you have. And I'll talk about deploying your tour files. So I'm going to flip back over to Rundeck and log out and log back in with my administrator account again. Right. So the feature I was talking about is we have a new plugin manager. So I no longer have to like go to GitHub, go to the release page, get the right URL, go to my command line, use wget or whatever to download the file and put it into my library extensions folder. Right now from the Rundeck interface, I can actually go and search a repository of all the plugins that are available. So the repository is also, right, it's right here, online.rundeck.com. So it's navigating out to this page. I can just search through all the plugins. So I'm just going to search for tour, right? And it, under the official repository, it's just giving me the 2 available tour options. So the HTTP tours allows you to host the files for the tours on a web server, right, and in JSON format. And local tours allows you to put them in a local directory on the Rundeck server. And you can see that I already have the HTTP tours installed, but if I didn't, I could just click on this, install, and it would install it automatically for me on my Rundeck server. Now, another great feature of the plugins is if something is installed and I'm wondering what configuration options that I have, right? So I'm gonna use this to talk about how do you configure tours. This little information button will actually tell you these, right? I can configure tours using this option within projects, so you can have a tour that is specific to a project, right? And that means that what we call the manifest, which you can see, tour manifest JSON is the next setting. This is the default name of the file, right? That would display on a per project basis. Here at Rundeck, for our trial environment, we're using it at the framework level. right? So we're configuring, this will show up for all projects across the board. So it's up to you whether you want to configure this to work on a per project basis, right? Or have it across your entire framework. So I've mostly gone in my configuration with the default options. So I have a file called tour.manifest.json, right? And I'll show you what that looks like. Just bring it up. And I'll talk about the components in a little bit. But you can see it's a very simple, straightforward JSON file. And you might notice that the titles in the tour are matching this name field. And the key is actually the corresponding file. So each of these tours has its own file. So let's take a look at what that looks like. So if I look under here, right, this is what it looks like in the UI. And on our website, this is actually the JSON file that is creating this menu option. Now, when I click getting started, and this shows up right here, right, you can see my getting started JSON. So it's a little more complicated. The name is right, getting started, and you can see that the title is right here. The key is actually the file name, and it has to match, right? So you have your key in the tour manifest, and you have your key over here. These need to match, and we recommend setting those right to the file name without the extension. Now, each of these pages that we're seeing within the tour, you can see are called steps, right? And so the first step is the first page, and you can see its title, welcome. And the content is actually HTML content, and the CSS from the Rundeck interface is being applied to your content. So you do have some limitations there, and you might notice here we have this next navigation. So in ours, we chose to put in something at the bottom that tells them the title of the next step. And if I scroll over, you can see that I'm using H6, right, to tell them what's coming next. So when they click the next button in here, right, it's bringing it to the next step within the tour. And I'll go back to my file here, right, and we can see that the next step here is navigation. Now, the way that we're hooking up this next with where does it bring you is we're actually using, and you'll notice right here, right, so you have your Rundeck base URL, local 8080. So you're simply going to use the page name that's following that for your next steps. Now, step indicator is the little button, the little arrow, and it always points from the right side to whatever menu. So you'll notice when I click next, let's see, one of those. This indicator to the person menu is actually a little bit off the screen, but this is a better one with the gear. So the page around system menu. So if I just go down to system menu, you can see the step indicator. So these are all element names. And I can say that it's really easy to point to the menus that are consistent, but within the pages, you might not, like I might not be able to point to stats CPU or one of these items that are within the page. But all of the left panel navigation and all the top panel navigation, you can use this indicator to show the user where to click. Yeah, so I'm gonna flip back to my PowerPoint. Present your mode again. So that's how you enable, right, this thing, configure the tours. And for deploying the tour files, go ahead. You're gonna have to write a manifest file. and then you'll have to create your individual tour page files. So the manifest file is simple, right? There's just a couple elements. Name is going to be the title of the tour that will be persistent on all your pages. The tours is going to be a list of all the pages files that you have with the key and then the name that's going to display in that main menu. The pages, a little bit more complicated to write, right? The name is actually going to be that title of the page. Oh, wait a minute. The title of the tour, I recommend, kind of matching those up from the manifest file. The key is going to be the file name, right? And it needs to match what you put in the manifest. The steps are going to be each of those pages of the tour. So this is going to turn into a long file in most cases. The title will show in that H2 on the page. So in this case, it's overview page. Your content, write it all in HTML. You want to consider like your space. Seen a few customers who, right, if you write a book, it's gonna like go off the screen and get all messy. So you want to keep it brief, like a paragraph, 2 paragraphs, and use the pages, the next button. So you just having people read a paragraph or 2. The next step URL is optional. You don't have to have that in there. So we do have a few tours in our trial environment where you have like 2 or 3 screens of content before the tour actually moves you to a different page. The step indicator is also optional. You don't have to point to your users where you want them to click, but we recommend using that option as much as possible.